Palworld is a lot like Digimon. You get isekai'd into another world, you make lifelong friends with magical creatures, and you can have them fight alongside you. But what if you wanted to take matters into your own hands? Can you beat Palworld with melee only? The rules are simple. I can only deal damage with melee attacks. The pals are still allowed to do the chores. Understand? If not, watch the video again. That'll help both of us. After the sea rejected my application for another spin in the evolutionary oven, the pals immediately started running away. They knew. Once my first thought was about done forming, I talked to a nearby exposition dispenser, but didn't feel like reading. Since I had absolutely no clue how this game ends, I let the quest marker steer my career decisions. I turned the nearby creatures into punching bags, but instead of using my fists like a caveman, I used a stick. Following scorched earth, an angry orange dog wanted revenge. Fortunately, it got stuck under a bridge. Unfortunately, my HM slave chose violence and company time, and that wasn't allowed in any Ketchutopia household. Armed with a stick pointier than before, I resumed the XP harvest, but the foliage fund introduced me to the exciting concept of dying before I understood what had happened. My brain converted what transpired in front of me, that this must be a Souls-like, but absolutely nobody played along and warned me before I was pumped full of seed. Between then and the quest marker, my fight with the berry goat was also deeply educational. Low level against high level. Damage no good. Eat hearty. What the battle lacked in spectacle, it made up for in duration. No, it was so close! But I wasn't done yet. From there, I slaughtered and kidnapped all manner of creatures, skipped every line of quest dialogue, remained blissfully uninformed. Then Bright Rock loomed on the horizon. What kept me from immediately scaling it was an attempted localized genocide on the electric porcupines. Keyword attempted. Not long later, I met my first human enemy. Turns out, people fight back better than sheep, and I finally fulfilled the lifelong dream I came up with just minutes ago. Because anything slightly more impressive than a lawn ornament kept kicking my ass, I wanted better gear. For that, I followed the tutorial. I built a camp just functional enough that nobody could complain, then spent the next geological era looking for a firefox, because apparently civilization needed a harness. While doing that, I generally switched from murder to capture, because it paid better. After crafting the foxling, I needed to show it to the village chief. Didn't ask, didn't want to know. He thanked me by sending me to raid the Syndicate Tower next. No thanks. I'd rather snort pepper. Instead, I resumed productive procrastination. When I say I mean my pals handled all the OSHA violations, while I watched videos of streamers suing each other. It's like a middle schooler's fight, but they're adults, so it's twice as disappointing. It's great. Following that, I almost died capturing a deer, then dug through trash, because that's where I'm at. Next, I repeatedly jumped off a mountain trying to punch a bird, until I finally pieced some darts together and threw a ball at it. Luckily, the bird agreed to fight fair once it acknowledged I was a bother. Then I had the gigabrain idea of interrupting a wolfpack's lunch and almost found out. Inside the cave I escaped to, I finally found human enemies in my price range. The dungeon boss let me have one of its babies for free, but when I went in for seconds, that was apparently too much. The fight was incredibly fun, said nobody involved. My healthcare plan needed revising. Conveniently, right after modern medicine entered the budget, a raid notification popped up. The negotiator showed up moments later, trading 500 gold for peace. We said no. The raid didn't last long. My pals erased the raiders before I could participate. I'm counting that as environmental damage. Before hitting the next tower, I needed to gather enough brain cells for a metal spear. I went to capture 5 copies of every Perkinpin Palmon and reached the next level in no time at all. I also had my dignity somewhat restored. Back home, a boar was humping my palace screen. Rude. Several ore deposits later, I had a new spear, armor, and a pickaxe. Luckily for me, I discovered helmets before setting out for the tower. With the highest defense so far, I felt prepared. I wasn't prepared. My first attempt ended embarrassingly quickly. The worst part was wasting stamina, dodging every taunt like it was an attack. Turns out only about half of them were. My second attempt went a little better, technically. I survived until the timer expired, then immediately died anyway. Victory was theoretically possible. Unfortunately, it required competence. At least all the nothing I brought with me was sent outside the tower. Zoe might be a little soft in the head, but she's no thief. So it was back to the grinding board. Next plan. Harvest enough experience to convince the game I deserved a sword license. I also charged the concept of fishing head on. An hour into the grind, I finally remembered to use my mount, especially impressive considering I was just minutes away from being done. The grind finally paid for a sword, medicine, and a shinier base. Then I went on a huge side quest to find leather for a better armor. That journey taught me a lot about water mechanics. This time I had finally dressed like a suitable challenger. It was time to get dangerous. The preparation phase was somehow harder than the boss. The fight taught me how to focus my stat points. Health and stamina carried me much harder than attack ever did. Attack is temporary, not dying is forever. The old man and Zoe both berated me for stealing Zoe's stuff after beating her unconscious. Apparently she'd mistaken me for an official challenger. Bit of an overreaction, really. Anyway, she let me keep her ancient key as a reward for the attempted murder, and as a bonus, dropped vague information about the 7 more I needed to find. My journey toward the next tower began with unfinished business. I got revenge on the bridge troll by repeatedly shoving him off his own bridge with pal spheres. Serves him right. 2 syndicate mustards and their pals gave me such a walloping that Kier returned to the to-do list, but I got compensation right before running the frick away. While circling around them, I found an unwatched cage, freed the animal inside, and somebody had clearly pooped my pants when all the guns started pointing at me. Ha, he likes my name. Several minutes into climbing a giant pylon before I remembered I had a mount with HM Fly. Every syndicate camp had its own personality. One was Bomberman, another was apparently giving pets away. I found an Elden Ring style problem circle on the ground and a giant penguin inside it. My ego got me in some trouble, but I eventually stopped standing where the attacks landed. That's it, get in the ball. Even though the eagles agree to fight you on your level, they are still a massive pain to catch, figuratively and non-fictionally. There is a special place for them in my personal hell. Oh my god. Once I unlocked the expedition station, my pals earned themselves a forever home inside it. Not to be outdone, I set out to raid some dungeons myself. I stumbled across a deer family reunion on the way. Luckily for them, I'd already finished my deer collection. Because I failed to capture the boss in the first one, I made myself a mercy ring, then successfully increased my cat collection. The mercy ring really helped me with my neck problems, because, you know, deer and other vertically ambitious creatures. And, after all this time, I finally realized I can use mounts inside the dungeons. There was no Professor Oak around to stop me. I found a dungeon with nothing but treasure inside. I was convinced it was a trap. It wasn't. Between dungeons, the expedition crew kept earning more unpaid shifts. I hit another treasure dungeon, this time with a pal inside. These things common? After that, I rescued a Lucky 2 from a syndicate camp. Unfortunately, she insisted on helping, so I banished her into the box dimension. When I met a black marketeer, I burned all my cash without a thought behind it and traded in my chickens. Back in the dungeons, I mercifully corrected another mistake, and discovered I'd spent way too long overthinking my stats. So does exist. Not long later, I tried challenging another tower. It belonged to a pet pal friend faction or something. Can't put my finger on the name. The concussion might have something to do with it. There was a huge pixie dragon that made me feel inadequate. Luckily, I could sort my feelings against his little brother. He kicked my ass. I went back for revenge immediately just to almost lose again. A gaggle of sleeping birds helped me regulate my anger. Then it all came back full force when I tried capturing a long cat. As usual, the second verse is where the meat is. Further along the boulevard of distracted dreams, I made a pal trader inside a dungeon. Bought as many as I could, looted the surroundings to buy one more, then realized I could sell him all of my trailer park palamons and made an absolute mint. Humans were most valuable. Is it morally acceptable to sell bad guys? Actually, don't care. Money and the alleged status didn't exempt me from acknowledging mining as a lifestyle. The next step on base evolution was hungry for ingots. I tried to build a fancy nest for a sphere assembly line, but my simian brain couldn't comprehend foundations, and there was a tree that beat me in a battle of wits. So I glued the whole thing to a mountain instead. While decimating the chode pine population to power my industrial revolution, I spotted some dinosaurs that had relax in their names, but were anything but chill. Revenge is sweet. As a final distraction, I gave fishing a try, and actually enjoyed it. Doesn't happen often. My first catch was a big lady of the lake. Some other shiny chunker got away. I blamed it on my beginner rod and swore to return once I had a better one. After exhausting every excuse not to fight the tower, I finally started gearing up. The shield got cut from the budget. The shopping list had gotten out of hand. Freak that! I got this. Ctrl C. Ctrl C! I swallowed my ego. Enthusiastic industrialization resumed. Briefly, if there is one thing I'm not good at, it's grinding. And I'm not about to run out of excuses. Next in Ketchu's distraction adventures, I located a meteor surrounded by Palpens and alien mons. I captured everyone still breathing. A flower man on the scene tried to buy her freedom with a dance, but I didn't bite. Since I couldn't beat the Palpen boss set, I don't know why I thought I'd beat the Pixie Dragon's big brother. I was right to feel inadequate. The last problem between me and Daylight was a band of merry men in tights. My strategy was remarkably advanced. Bark from behind a tree like a female K9. Wait for my shield to remember its job. Rush in. Get exactly 2 swings. Repeat until graduation. 10 minutes doesn't sound long, but it is when measured in classroom minutes. I somehow optimized the fun out of avoiding the grind. Yes! Back at base, I realized I'd neglected my helmet too, so I upgraded that, my shield, and my fishing rod. Without wasting a moment, I headed out to fish. Did I get distracted? Absolutely. I stopped to say hi to Scoot, raided a camp, bought the trader's entire stock, sold all my humans for a whopping 41k, and introduced Turncoat to the inside of a sphere. A raid message interrupted my chill base time. We declined their offer again. The Syndicate sent 2 waves of bad lads. Those who I couldn't capture in time, cut off by the workers. If they want to exit this plane of existence by proxy, who am I to stand in the way of a noble cause? After that short, 50-minute bout of distraction, I finally cast my rod. Turns out the better rod wasn't Snake Oil after all. While picking up a Batman for a quest, I had to stop to admire how aggressively the little fox ate his food. Relatable. The quest reward for a perfectly good Batman was what we civilized people would refer to as an absolute f***ing waste. Then I learned how this, my astrological sign is my entire personality, freak eats. I fear no pal, but that thing, it scares me. It was also the day I learned you can teleport from anywhere within your base. By accident. God damn it, am I learning the entire game in reverse order? I wasn't done. I figured out I could use pals as stat sticks. What will I think of next? Palpen Tower 3. Resynced, remastered, reimagined, reloaded, rearmed. Somewhere around this point I realized I didn't actually know if this tower needed to die. Turns out cheap medicine and a pal's passive healing are surprisingly effective combination. The man-died strategy worked as well, right up until the boss started cheating through my cover. At least I'm losing slower. Dang it. Leveling up was slow. Collecting enough stat sodas to make a difference was slow. New gear was far away. I wasted points on the Ultra Kill Collab armor, but I couldn't math if it was better than my current armor. I was getting desperate. While hunting for sodas, I breached a gap to a bridge by doing a Yoshi. The nearby idiots learned from that and imitated me, but without a Yoshi. Ha, idiots. In the next dungeon, I devastated Tree Trunks' whole family. They stood no chance. Kinda felt bad for that one. As soon as I dropped under 100 spheres, I started feeling like I didn't have enough. My base location is awful. Not a lot of space. Crew's coming over to help. Yeah, sorry guys, this is pretty inconvenient. Next, I went to challenge the big butterfly man. Like usual, I hissed from behind a pillar like a feral cat and wailed about the poison. But I'm about as stubborn as I am stupid. The emote enthusiast taught me how they sleep around them parts. Then I met my first shiny Palamon. I didn't understand the significance, but I threw balls until it gave up. The amount of time I wasted before discovering I could turn my mount into a pacifist scares me. It wasn't necessary to store it in a ball between every fight. Some time ago, I found an epic version of my sword. Surely that would solve the tower. No, so close. 16 hours in, I finally realized distance doesn't equal difficulty. I'd be leveling in the wrong place the entire time. Everything got so much easier and faster. User issue, like always. Red crystals lied to me. At the end waited my most annoying boss fight yet. It was a real carousel of suffering. In hindsight, I should have appreciated how easy I still had it. The next armor upgrade hungered for coal. A lot of coal. I was ready to throw my everything at the coal farm. Even raised the carry weight stat for it, just to suffer a little less. Grinding for me usually requires the amount of mental fortitude it takes a cow to physically climb a tree. Of course, the very next dungeon was a treasure dungeon, with no coal. Raids kept interfering with my creative flow. By this point, I wasn't sure whether to sell the negotiators or start a collection. Back outside hunting for more dungeons, I found a spring next to another Assassin's Creed tower. Did the first one have it too? Did I climb it manually for no reason? I also captured a creature I could only describe as a love child of a minotaur and a Bigfoot. Another Ketchu X Syndicate fanfic went off the rails in Nowhere Special. I took off my Osha ring. I've had enough of them resisting my allure. I bet the boys on guard duty didn't expect an attack from behind. There was an attempt at avoiding another carousel, but that wasn't allowed. There could be no other end. Eventually, I built the coal farm. While pals worked on that, I figured I had time to tackle the next quest. Turns out it wasn't a tower. It was a long grocery list of go over there and talk to a guy or an item. Freak that. Another tall lookout pylon had the spring. God damn it. Fine, back to coal. Production sucked. Even with all of us focus firing it, it barely moved. So while they suffered, I went for dungeon coal instead. Captured Bowser's even chunkier cousin meanwhile. Checking my bugs, I found this absolute unit to solve my mining problems. I'm not sure where I got it from. Waiting for ingots was no better. Unfortunately, all my best fire workers were off on an expedition. I'm so nice that even my child labor equivalent workers get vacation days. So I recruited replacements until I found an artisan monkey worth promoting. Promotion involved absorbing its less worthy relatives. Still not fast enough. On top of that, my pals started whining about work conditions. So I built a monitoring stand. HR wasn't available. I never actually used the hard work mode. You don't do it because you care for their well-being. I don't use it because I don't want to deal with their well-being. We're kinda the same. Once my armor was finally complete, I looped up and tried the tower again. If I had Saiyan physiology, I'd be getting stronger by just getting subscribed up. Anyway, with my new gear, it wasn't even close. The Tower 2 arc is over. The boss set is dead. Good. She was such a massive... Instead of raiding the rest of the Green Hill zones, I decided to attack the next area. I'd just return if I encountered problems. And encounter problems I did. The plan lasted about 5 minutes. Everything was overleveled. The dungeons, the tower, all of it. Without a better weapon, I wasn't getting anywhere. The silver lining? I got a lot of new forgers. Looked inside a dragon. Observed how the locals fight firemans with fire. That was brilliant. And was completely caught off guard when I found what looked suspiciously like Arvak. Then I met Digimon. He looked like Shadow the Hedgehog's classmate. For the next step in base evolution, I needed quartz for circuit boards. I had no idea where to get some, so I solved the problem the traditional way, by ignoring it. And what do you know? I found some almost immediately. I got so excited, I moved the whole base there. Life is kinda cool sometimes. I finally caved and installed some quality of life mods, like inventory sharing between bases, because carrying everything manually from one base to the next was fun exactly once. It's not like this is Valheim, where building logistics is half the game. With my sanity secured, I went looking for another base location while robbing dungeons on the side. I was hoping to brute force competence with stat sodas. A Fire Darkmon family interrupted my focus. Naturally, I dark-napped all of them, including the children. The dungeon next door housed the extended family. And when I got back out, the X had respawned. Score. Do you have to be so close to the working end of the axe? He just wants to be part of everything I do. The spicy green chickens were absolute little bastards to catch. With level 46 came my right to wield a katana and Palmetal armor. I skipped the helmet, because Palmetal refining speed was infernally slow. Dying wasn't really my current problem anyway. My new weapon made all the difference. The only real threats were the couple of attacks worth dodging. And the fact that I forgot to take off the mercy ring. Afterward, I tried shoving the corpse into the lava, but God interrupted my justice with a screen transition. Just like with the volcano, I planned to skip the quest marker talking and head straight for the tower, then immediately forgot about it and wandered off. Along the way, some pal trainer generously donated both his life and his pal. A Saturday morning Godzilla nearly turned me into atmospheric moisture.
It's immune to spears. Dang it, I wasted so many spears on it. No.
Birds continued to be nature's greatest mistake. They aren't real anyway. I captured a couple of Shadow the Hedgehogs, laughed at an idiot sleeping underwater, then immediately stopped laughing. Ouch! Okay, the Alpha Sapmon is not looking for work. Yup, time to run. Why do bad things keep happening to me? Even the love lady can negotiate with birds. My next idea was to build a science-flavored base for experimentation. The great thought in the sky saw I was having fun and threw a raid my way. I barely unpacked. The raiders completely ignored my brilliant idea of building in a low-level area. I got efficiently dismantled a couple of times.
I should have paid, I had the money.
After that, I threw honor to the window, hid behind cover, and screamed profanities. The second wave worked out a lot better. They courteously went to mid-cities on their own.
What the freak? Alright, that wave cleared itself.
Now the third wave? Birds. I sat that one out, since some of them got lost somewhere anyway. I continued building in my blissful ignorance until the timer clocked out. 3 ranches of trash-digging foxes later, my scientific pursuits drowned me in spheres. Sulfur heroically stepped in as the next bottleneck. Getting an infinite farm for that meant fighting against the desire sensor. Naturally, things started with a treasure dungeon. Thankfully, my expedition workers risked their lives to cover the difference. Relocating my fox ranch to an area higher in both level and altitude didn't produce better spheres. Instead, it landed me another immediate raid. But, this time, I was one step ahead with the location. They could do nothing but cry about it, and then accept my forced adoption forms.
I just found out there's a special attack.
What if I increase their ranching ability? I dove into garbage collector eugenics, and still after all that work, blue balls. While pushing for the desert tower, I realized the blue disappointment orbs ignore near 0 odds if you rapid fire them hard enough. A giant dung beetle strongly advised me to still pick my battles. After surviving the world's largest leader box, I challenged the tower immediately, the first male boss, and he brought a bird, because of course he did. I lasted about 1 attack.
What?
To recover from that disaster, I needed better gear, which meant 5 more levels and crude oil. Sunlit Isle turned out to be perfect for oil extraction. Too bad the machines themselves required several pension funds. Since all I could do was wait for the slackers to smelt my ingots, I challenged Bella Noir to pass the time. I did not expect the ass kicking I got since the brochure said level 35. That didn't exactly solve my leveling problem, so I returned to the desert. The ancient Egyptians believed the most important thing in life was dying. A chili-smelling turkey was eager to help me honor their traditions. I braved the nuclear beam to barely strike even.
Oh.
I made my HM fly work extra hard because I was too stubborn to turn back while freezing to death. She had to flap her wings above the sea all night, best not get tired. I was positively excited to find new kind of ore.
Oh.
Of course the ore attacked me. To avoid losing my ride in one shot next time, I set out to find me my perfect flying mount, one that could absorb all those training manuals and souls I've been collecting. I traveled across the land, searching far and wide. Sky Island was beyond my grasp. I was angrily boiling inside, so I started searching for flying monsters with stamina passives. While shopping for Zap Mons, I challenged the big one again. I used my new strategy of pelting it with blue balls. The fight ended shockingly quickly. After wasting just hours and hours on hunting birds, I got a little frustrated. I was ready to mutilate pals with surgery. Luckily for them, the passives I needed weren't on the list. I needed a break from the bird hunt, so I relaxed by running into every trap in a dungeon. Later, I found the strongest Shadow the Hedgehog larper. Even the terrain couldn't block his atomic breath. Then I finally set up that oil extraction site and increased work speed from the world settings because I'd already served my sentence. Once I reached light blast steel armor level, I needed to set out with my mining team, because I didn't have enough of anything. Naturally, the mining pals were already off on an expedition. My stupid bird plan was still on hold, but as soon as I got my armor on, I went to show it and my new spear to the boss anyway. It looked quite good until the boss nuked me again. I should bring more birds. Speaking of which, the perfect plane plan resumed. Briefly. I got almost immediately bored and started exploring again. I discovered the arena island, with the passives I wanted, but I wasn't allowed to compete in the arena myself. I'd have to use pals. Speaking of self-inflicted problems, I'm so stubborn, I waited until level 55 before using a feedback. It's insanely convenient. Not refreshed from all the exploring, bird plan resumed with a new perspective. Breeding. But I forgot half the breed team saddles I needed. Built every incubator anyway. After all my experimentation, I'm under the impression I'm not getting the traits I don't already own. So I decided the flyer with the perks I wanted doesn't exist. My Zapmon flies faster if we have electric pals in the party. Adapt and overcome. After hammering myself enough against the island, I found a rest stop to cheese my way upward.
Yes!
The locals weren't looking to make friends, so I used their stupid pagoda as a launch pad to reach the next altitude.
Yes.
Once I got another fast travel point, I wanted to try capturing one of the locals. Bad idea. Then I had the audacity to try capturing the attack jet. His attacks were surprisingly easy to dodge. Catching him wasn't. But after throwing roughly 300 blue spheres and a little over 50 red spheres, I gave up. Armed with a stronger armor and a stronger bird, I tried the boss again. Similar results.
Oh,
I tried jumping up and down like a dog after a treat to reach the boss. But the time trial was a bigger problem than gravity. Oh no, I forgot about this. Thanks, little guy. Now I can die again. Lost, inept, and out of ideas, I tried to enter the Scorched Ashlands legally and got my butt handed to me on a plate. Ooh, I'm coming back. I'm coming back angrier and significantly more overprepared, because I'm not done yet. I really didn't want to go back capturing the birds, so I just defaulted back to my dragon plan. My first attempt might have been a disaster, but this time, I had an actual plan. What started with hope quickly deteriorated into suffering. What I thought would take hours ended up taking days. I just wanted some better pal spheres, man. My quest for materials started great. Anubis Man decided my suffering wasn't enough and added weight to the bar mid-lift. The place was plenty hostile even without his intervention, but I saw him looking to ruin my day even more.
uh-oh.
I centralized for efficiency and moved all my handiwork into the same place. My plans needed hexolite, and I was not doing it myself, so I started looking for a new base location. This anti-air BS sucked pro-rangutan balls. Moving stuff and demolishing took freaking forever. The building part of the building took even longer, because I wanted to put some effort in. Because I clearly hadn't wasted enough time yet. Hexolite needed chromite. I got a smoky for that, but the harness needed tech points. Luckily, those grow in dungeons. Never been this happy to see a treasure dungeon. Of course, it didn't have what I wanted. So the next problem was metal detector. I went to gather night sand in the desert for that. It's supposed to glow at night, but that would have made it too easy. Then a raid message interrupted my teeth grinding, and I lost the last of my enamel. The negotiator got the punching bag experience, and I used him for emotional regulation. Later, he'd find himself as merchandise. The raid mildly vandalized my base and pals. Call it survivorship bias or something smart, but every destroyed wall came back stronger. This is a bit stupid, but with everything going on, I forgot I'd already unlocked the harness, so I explored to unlock the thing I'd already unlocked. Brilliant. Chromite is such a bitch to find, and I don't even know if the smoky helped at all. Waiting for plasteel finally broke me. I invested in research to speed that up, which needed flame organs, which needed condensing pals. Thought about breeding too, and I was thinking of getting some drinks, maybe shoot myself. You know, there are options. I optimized absolutely everything I could think of, half-heartedly, because I had all the downtime in the world. Thanks, Plasteel. Remember our expeditions? Yeah, I completely forgot about those for a while. Then I stole my sphere machine budget for a plasma cutter. Thanks to that, I had time for a quiet self-reflection. Because I'm always waiting for Plasteel. I'll stop complaining about it now. Not long later, I got the sphere machine done. But my new balls needed more chromite, naturally. I think the only thing so far more annoying to gather than chromite is night sand. Though this time, the wildlife worked really hard to change that. They wanted a piece of me every chance they got, and I wasn't really in a position to say no. 26 minutes, 1952 chromite. Worth it? Jury's still out. While I was working on my base, minding my own business, suddenly, I heard the caramel dancing. There was a shiny nearby. In my excitement, I dropped my stones outside the build radius. Gone forever. What I thought would be a super shiny, because of the music, turned out to be just a normal shiny. Turns out I'd installed a mod. Reading what it actually did would have ruined the surprise. It mentioned caramel dancing. I clicked yes. Anyway, the fight took me several lives, and even more tears. Didn't help that a predator, Bullshidoman, intervened. Nothing erodes a man's sanity quite like repeatedly dying to caramel dancing. In my long list of stupid decisions, I tried to get my base pals to help. They all got one shot almost immediately. I burned through more of my precious dragon plan spheres than I'd like to admit. Thanks to that ball and dance, the local construction industry, me, had phenomenal quarter. Because I'd accidentally donated all my stones to the abyss, I needed more pal rocks, so I made it my pal's problem. After spending days working on my dragon plan, I finally had 69 spheres in my inventory. Nice. All that was left was waiting for the night. To pass the time, I settled an old score with the tutorial foliage band. Came nightfall. I tried to utilize my old arch-nemesis against the dragon, the campfires. I'm not ashamed to admit I rolled in those every chance I got. The plan didn't work out at all. My next plan was to keep waking it up by throwing spheres at its butt, exhausting it eventually by the power of insomnia. Suddenly, I felt a little guilty. Insomnia sucks, but I only got to do it once because the night was already over. With nothing to do, I just explored the Skylands, periodically bullying the dragon with a sphere to the posterior. The locals didn't appreciate me digging through their trash, but I'm glad I did, because I found some endgame spheres. Manufacturing my own supply was optional, it seems. The following night, my first ancient sphere caught the dragon. Cool. Days of preparation. One ball from the garbage.
It is mine! Mission complete.
The first glass seed I was aiming for required level 79 to use. Oh cool, it got worse.
Break. My plan fell apart. Again.
So here's some greatest hits from my leveling up process.
What's 13 more levels? Whoops, I wasted an ancient spear. Weapon broke. This is awesome.
I'm starting to appreciate the spin.
Little down, butt munch.
After a long and harrowing journey, I reached level 79. Might have boosted XP gain temporarily to speed things up. My troubles weren't over, not even a little. I needed Palworld and AI cores, something I had no access to yet. To progress in tech, I went looking for Corallum. It was almost as annoying as looking for night sand. Having a surfboard made it easier. The fishing team helped as well, maybe. I decided to attack an oil rig to see what materials I could steal from them. Bad idea, they destroyed me in seconds.
Oh! Wow, okay, that was not a good idea.
Feeling stumped, I made a new weapon and looped my mount and myself for another boss attempt. He took down my bird in 3 moves. Useless. I couldn't kill him, he couldn't kill me. It was the heart attack that rang the bell. And just to piss me off more, the raid was incoming.
I paid them to f*** off.
For my next attempt, I picked the tankiest flyers I had. Saddle tech points took forever, because the first dungeon just couldn't ever fork over what I needed. The boss one-shot my level 70 bird, and almost me too.
Ooh, what the
Back to the drawing board. I wanted to avoid this, but I finally used pal souls to boost the defenses of my pals. My plan originally was to save them for the endgame squad. Turns out that was a wasted effort too. I get way more than I needed. This time, I covered the entire team in essential oils. As one got hurt, it could heal up while I used the next one.
Ooh, what the frick? What the frick? I got one-shotted again. And then there was a raid happening at the same time.
Next plan, talismans to boost my fire resistance and pal defense. The first time I visited the wildlife sanctuary, I was surprised I could just enter the bubble. Made me think of that Rick and Morty cherry meme. Okay, 10. That was always allowed. Seamless. Once I got what I needed from there, I made the charms and stopped to steal a supply drop from the syndicate.
They didn't even notice me.
I stacked more fire resistance with the red armor. Fire resistance level 1 combined with level 4 from the charm makes 5. Right? Whether it did or not, we thank the Thanos snap. I had to switch birds a couple of times, but I finally got it. I finally showed that big dumb idiot that I'm a remarkable force of death on training wheels, and I will be taken seriously. That Cupid stunt and his stupid bird were finally dead. Took me 43 hours to beat 3 bosses in total. This challenge sucks.
I hope that was the last flying boss. Frick this. Gonna eat this idiot.
After that, I started running expeditions off the record. Anyone who failed the selection process got sent to additional training. I didn't have the disk space to capture all of that. They didn't get to rest even when I was writing this. For my next trick, I wanted to throw myself at another tower to test the ice. And this time, I was prepared before I shoved my face into a blender. New armor and a charm for frost resistance. And some pals that increased my damage that didn't happen to be on an expedition. Of course, I needed some materials and technology points first. As tradition dictates, the first dungeon was a treasure dungeon without what I wanted. Because why would it be anything else? Then I somehow got lost and forgot what I was doing and explored the volcano island. Figured it out eventually. What's up with all the boss babes flying on freaking birds in every tower? All the garbage I put together for the occasion worked well enough to keep me alive, but because the timer works against me, and me alone, I lacked the firepower to strike her off the senses. So, to defeat the next boss, all I needed was a new weapon. Mining the Sorolite was easy. Refining it required ancient cores. Every method of getting ancient cores required beating content I was trying to get ancient cores to beat. Perfect. One option was the oil rig. It kicked my butt earlier, but I had better gear now, so it was time for revenge. That's not actually the hard oil rig. I was hoping you wouldn't know this. Since that clearly wasn't happening, it had to be the tower. I laid out my marbles. Steroids? More steroids. or an emotional support ferret. The only way to change your damage type to dragon, which is the boss's weakness. But the ferret needed to be ridden into battle. That didn't work for me, because I had already found my warrior, Scutlass. I spent hours kidnapping mutant swordfish, condensed enough of them to violate several conservation laws, only to discover my legendary sushi slicer had the fitness level of a sinker. It lasted just a few seconds. Back to the breeding board. I needed the perfect Papyri, loaded with every player combat passive, so I could stop thinking about passives forever. While hunting them by the dozens, I spun the breeding farm for a genetic roulette. Some eggs managed to mutate, and the outcome was just wild. After some hours, I tried cheating in the passive I wanted by mixing bunnies and foxes. Got monkeys, somehow. After even more hours of mind-numbing searching, I concluded the two missing passives didn't simply mix with the foxes. Then I found one in my box immediately as I was ready to give up. This always happens. And just minutes later, I found the last passive, because I believed in the heart of the cards. Done. That only took one day. With my new dream team, which now included the maxed out fox and slightly improved ferret, that's right, it's back, I looped up my mountain eye and charged the tower. Not only did my pal croak in record time, halfway through the fight, my weapon also exploded. I had just repaired it before hunting all the poppers, so the warranty skipped my mind. I switched the ferret to the cutlass, because there was no way it was going to be any more useless. It did give me a nice boost in damage for the few seconds it lived. The fight stretched seemingly forever, but eventually, she finally fell before me. Victory unlocked the ancient core expeditions. They paid 2 cores an hour, 3 if the game was feeling charitable. While the expeditions crawled along, I hunted more ice pals to squeeze out every last bit of experience. The machines I wanted needed around 30 cores. Since Ketchu does not like to wait, I attacked the oil rig for realsies this time. The introductions hurt almost as much as the Paralympic gymnastics at the railing. The next expedition tier paid even more ancient cores, but there was another tower still in the way, so I pumped my ferret full of vitamins, just to watch it last roughly 1 business second.
Okay.
This time, I wasn't missing damage, I was missing everything. After wasting just freaking hours optimizing almost everything, I hit a wall. Turns out progress wanted materials from an area that made faces from behind the remaining towers. The only alternative was several more days of grinding. Freak that, I dropped the difficulty to casual. All this did was save me time, because it was day 140 and I didn't even want to think about the time invested. And at least now we'll know if the challenge was even theoretically possible. Even on casual, the boss still dissed and took an uncomfortable amount of pain. I was already dreading the next boss. And for a good reason, I was once again asking for more damage. The laughter on top of it was just salting on the wound. Anything to avoid another grind. I searched the internet for exploits. I gave up after 2 minutes. Then I checked exactly 1 dungeon in case the developers had accidentally hidden some bauxite there. They had not, luckily. Before I wasted too much time on more nonsense, I realized I didn't need that ore after all. I'm not sure why I thought I did. I blame it on my brain being fried from the hours of grinding. What I needed was corallum ore, and that can be fished from the floating trash piles, which was exactly what I wasn't doing. I threw 2 whales on the breeding ranch, made the pals construct the machine that would shortly be processing their co-workers, and started grinding whale babies into corallum. Worked like a charm. After an aggressive amount of space time, my new workbench was ready. Think I could just use it? No, of course not. I needed a pal with the medicine 6, and those weren't easy to come by. To remedy that, I bred and squeezed enough plant mons to form a black hole. With more grey hair than I started, my new armor and sword were finally ready. The helmet would have been another investment I didn't feel like making. She just ran off with my armor. Instead, I went to try my new gadgets at the tower. My new strategy involved aggressively orbiting Leomon's head like an overclocked ceiling fan until I occasionally hit something important. The game found the execution amusing enough to not count it against me, right up until both of my mounts caught the terminal case of clocking out early. To their credit, they bought me the extra damage I needed. So, I'm not ducking their berries. Leomon and the homeless man on his shoulder retired from the positions of wasting my time. After that, I'd officially reached the point where the game wanted me to go somewhere else if I wanted improvements. I made sure I knew how to read this time. This was around as strong as I wanted to get, because the math involved in calculating the time to optimize further scared me.
How the frick am I supposed to get in there?
I immediately got black screen next to an exposition dispenser, so the straightforward approach was out. My task was to shut down 6 shield generators, one of which I completed by accident during my dragon episode. Half of them grew free range. The rest required breaking and entering. The guards were completely unprepared for someone simply running past them. Performance reviews were inevitable. For the second one, I attempted stealth, then accidentally discovered the martial art of DIY skylights. The guards at the gate still had no clue what was going on. I guess I'm a moron for not realizing earlier that you can break the highest floor walls, when it didn't work on the floors below. With that nonsense done, I challenged the last tower.
Oh great, it's a flying thing.
With unprecedented foresight, I fortified my Temu dragons. Too bad it didn't make much of a difference, because that would have been helpful when the big snake turned the arena into an aquarium. I spent the rest of the fight role-playing as the disappointed dolphin.
Oh, that's freaking fun.
In the end, the real boss was the timer we made along the way. Despite what I said, it was back to square breeding. Several generations of selective inbreeding later, I discovered industrial incubators existed. Couldn't have found those any later if I tried. Next, I spent far longer than I'd like to admit leveling my new bird, and it was only after that I remembered training manuals. I'd been hoarding them since the start, classic RPG behavior, saving potions for a moment that never comes. Anyway, they did freak all.
You know what? A sadist nurse is what this base needed.
Well, this is the best equipment available to me, and this is as good a mount as I'm willing to get, and these were the best charms I had unlocked. Once again convinced I'd solved the problem, I penetrated the tower. My new mount did well against the Shenron from Wish, but after benching it for a breather, my backup mount lasted about one spell in a washing machine. Half the time I have no idea what's going on. I mostly just swung in the general direction of success. If it's any consolation, I'd stopped having fun long time ago. I missed it by just enough to ruin my afternoon. I hate time trials. My next operation was breeding Cobfishmon to perfection. Somewhere along the way, I messed with cloning. My breeding operation became so cursed, it forgot how reproduction worked. I had to recruit fresh cobfish. After subjugating evolution, my maxed out abomination boosted my attack 20%. Do you think that was enough?
Oh my god, this sucks.
Actually, it was enough.
Yes, stupid Shenron from Temu.
Following that, I got to fly back to the exposition dispenser, only for him to tell me to fly back to the tower and talk to the boss. Awesome.
She's saying she likes my name. Ah yes, asterisk, 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 asterisk. A common name for where I'm from.
She then told me to go to a place and prove my strength to something. For that, archaeology, arts and crafts, then honk in a horn.
Oh Jesus Christ. I hate how every boss fight now needs a mount to fight.
Naturally, the weak spot was on its head. Why would it be anywhere else? For all intents and purposes, it may as well have been on the friggin' moon. Hitting anything consistently was already optimistic. On the upside, this time the boss timer was a little more generous. Too bad I didn't get to enjoy that, because all my mounts exploded so fast.
Come on, just take me already. What the fuck are you even trying? Okay, there we go.
After returning from the Rage Quit dimension, I threw my remaining marbles on the floor and formulated my next disaster. What followed was me repeatedly discovering I'd been making life harder than necessary. While breeding my next battle amplifier, I looked into better accessories. It was at that point, that far into the game, that I discovered how easy it was to unlock more accessory slots.
Oh, I'm going to buy defense fruits with the rest of the Doge coins.
Then I spent hours hunting for the silverfish whatever pendant. While searching, I finally beat an oil rig.
Dang it!
Feeling full of myself, I immediately challenged another one. Naturally, it came with premium security. To add salt to insult, after finally finishing everything, I realized that I leveled up the wrong freaking bird. I also wasted my defense fruits on it. Fantastic. Around the same time, I also discovered food buffs. I'm sure the game had been trying to help me all along, but I just ignored all the signs like usual. If there's anything that keeps my life interesting, it's that I keep finding new ways to disappoint myself. With a food buff, new accessories, and a new team, I tried the boss again.
Call me Ishmael, because we're having sushi tonight. I'd strike at the sun if it insulted me. From hell's heart I stab at thee. For hate's sake, I spit my last breath at thee. Ye damned whale.
And I'm out of quotes from a book I never read.
I wish the camera could just behave. Am I inside it? What am I, Noah? Oh, this is like playing a water level.
Oh, I need to capture it too. Yeah, I hated that. The whale was supposed to help me get to the World Tree. Instructions unclear. I rammed it into the barrier manually. Inside, I found elves, Totoros with guns, and materials too shy to be mined, unless you covered yourself in essential oils. Can I collect that? What? Naturally, I just couldn't enter the core like the quest told me to. No! There's paperwork for this kind of stuff. At least this one didn't require mount. Unfortunately, my damage had entered the exciting world of double digits. Hers had not. I even tried using the essential oils, but those did nothing. She effortlessly turned me into tomorrow's fertilizer. After dusting myself off, I found a purpose for negotiators. The wood chipper. Somewhere during my repeated commutes to the World Tree, I finally discovered you could press RT to jump straight to the World Tree map. I'd been chugging to the barrier this whole time. Excellent. Since I was done disrespecting my own time, I decided to simulate another 2 years of grinding and tweak the player damage just a little bit. Okay, now I got the best freaking armor and the best weapon I can have. Let's freaking do this! My little trick most doctors don't recommend pushed my damage back into the triple digits, still a far cry from the 4 it used to be. Yeah, got it. The victory text got stuck on screen after that, probably because I messed with the camera mode into getting transported out of the arena. That got annoying fast. The second boss went down without much drama. Naturally, I immediately tried breaking the camera again. Hey, the text is gone. Double negative worked. This is one of the most Dark Souls places ever. The third boss was just a rehash, discounted versions of the previous bosses. I persisted through the power of anger. Before hitting the next problem, I fixed the notification by jumping back to the menu. Didn't want that thing ruining the awesome fight that was about to happen. Once the Chaos Emeralds were in place, the door opened and... I can fix her. This is probably gonna suck. Fighting this boss was like fighting a disco ball in a laser tag arena. This time, fighting her with a mount was optional, and that's where the good things ended. Her weak spot wasn't going to hit itself, so I used a step ladder anyway. Fighting her mostly involved guessing whether the next color was decorative or lethal. Yeah, holy crap, Rick, ooh. And because my head was so deep in her ass, I couldn't see a damn thing she was trying to telegraph. I gave it a good college cry, but lost disgracefully. No! On second round, I focused more on her weak point, reading the battle patiently, studying the attack patterns, dodging and benching mounts for healing. This time, I tried to fly over the death ray, but the clever Dick aimed it upwards. Okay, you can't fly over the beam. Eventually, like all things must, she too fell before me. Holy crap, it's finally over. I hope this was the last one. No way. No second phase, please. Or do I just die? Oh, that's better. Oh, I survived. There can still be a second phase. I'm not trusting you. The pals wouldn't have surrounded me like that if they were aware of the crimes against creation behind me up to this point. So, can you beat Palworld with melee only? Technically, yes. Whether my dignity survived the process? Significantly less, yes. You'll be the judge. Oh, I won. It's over. And that's it for this time, folks. Do the engagement things if you want to help out. May Lady Luck step on you and bless your loot. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Take care now. Bye bye then. I'm so done with this game. I actually have a lot more ideas already. Teehee.